welcome to today's show where we discuss the memoir by Erika J. Simpson, This Is Your Mother. And you know I love memoirs, so let's get into it. Well, hi, Erika. This is Jenna
Hello.
Lee. I want to thank
Hi.
you for coming on today and sharing with us your story about your book. Get it in focus here.
Right. Yeah.
At my
This is
face
your
for a moment.
mother.
This is your mother. Get the author. Hold on. Whoops. There we go. Flashing back and forth. Erika J. Okay, Erika, before we really get into talking about the book itself, can you please tell our audience about your writing process, how long it took you to write the
Oh
book,
my.
why you decided to write the book, and where do you write?
Wait, all right. Why? Well, thank you for having me, Miss Jenna Lee. This book it was actually like a decades long process. So you know how they say like there's no overnight success. It really is true. Like it doesn't happen fast. So my mother passed in 2013 of cancer. She suffered 5 times from cancer. She had a brain tumor when I was born, and they told her not to have me, but she always pushed through. And in 2013, when she passed, I kind of blanked out for a full year. And then my
Mm.
sister in 2014, she was like, why don't we do NaNoWriMo, like National Novel Writing Month? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, we talked about it every day. And she was writing like these really fun stories about time traveling Black women in the South. And like all I could write was like, my mother has passed. Like
Mm.
it was so serious, but it felt like that's what I had to get out of me. So I wrote all
Sure.
of like everything that happened from the moment that I learned she was gonna die until she died in second person. There was none of the middle parts yet, just the second person. And it felt like I had something, but it was so depressing. So I shelved it. And literally 8 years passed. And then my best
Wow.
friend Jeremy O'Harris, he ended up he went to grad school and then his play popped, Slave Play, and he went to Broadway and he called me and he was like, "Girl, we're going to Broadway," because we both went to theater school together and got cut. So he called me and was like, "Girl, come on, you should get in school so we can both go." He's like, I can't use nepotism to get you in. You're not my daughter. So he motivated me to go back to grad school, and I went and created this. We had an autofiction class, and I read Heavy by Kiese Lamont, and um it changed my life. It taught me everything I
Mm.
needed to know about how to create your own narrative and get people to understand. And so then I added the extra parts. So it took a whole decade to for this book to come about. It was very heavy, and I wrote just literally in my house. I'm not fancy, so it's like write on my laptop on the couch every morning. And I would write probably from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then I would go for a walk to clear my head. I feel like you should never force yourself to keep writing. You know what I mean? Like if you hit the
Mm.
wall, you hit the wall. Just
Mhm, mhm,
process what you need to process. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So that's how it came.
So your sister, you mentioned your sister earlier, that she also is a writer and sort of got
Mhm.
you the impetus to say, hey, let's do this. Let's write for Nano,
Mhm.
which is in November, every November. I participated in that for the last 5 years or so. And it's fascinating because you feel the energy, the collective energy of other
Yes.
writers, although everything is online. But you have
Mhm.
that 30-day deadline to
Yeah,
get
to
a
be in
story.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like writing is such a by yourself sort of thing. So it does feel good to
Right.
feel the energy of November and to know that
Mhm.
other people are struggling and trying to do their daily word count. It really is a vibe.
Yeah, it is a vibe. Did you set a daily word count after NaNoWriMo? Did you set
Um,
some deadlines for yourself?
for honestly, for the way that I write now, it really is like if you can get a paragraph on the page, that's something. That's
Yeah,
a paragraph you didn't have before. You know what I mean?
right.
Because I feel like
Mhm.
there's days where it floods out of you and you get like 5
Mhm.
pages out. And then there's days where sometimes that 2 paragraphs was it and it was really needed. So I really
Yeah.
don't have a word count in my private life because I just don't want to
Hmm.
force anything. Everything should
Right.
be authentic and just flow out of you.
Sure.
But that word count does come in handy when you're a procrastinator and you've been sitting around. It does feel good to be like, girl, do your 1,000 today. You know what I mean? Like that does feel good.
Okay, let me pause.
Fully understand. Don't you worry.
Um, well, Erica, let me ask you this. So you got the book written, took a decade, and that's, a lot of people that happens to them. I mean, the first story I was working on, I mean, I'm still not quite done with it yet, right? But that has probably been 7, 8 years, um,
It's almost
working
like there's
on
a
it. Just
missing key. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's almost like there's something you need to experience before you finish. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. And writing is like that. Writing can take, sometimes it can be just like you said, you can knock those 3 pages out, and sometimes it's just kind of slow going. As long as it's
Yes.
going, that's how I feel. As long as it's
Amen.
going, it's getting somewhere and all of that. So once you got it done, then what happened after that?
Well, I would say so to get a book deal, I sold it off of just the what is it called? I'm blanking right now. It's where you just have the summary. The book proposal, it's like just
The
the
blurb.
summary of what it can
Mm-hmm.
be. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I wrote the book and then it felt like I worked heavily with the editor. My editor was a Virgo. I'm a Cancer. So she was like really precise and helped me like add things like having 3 parts, or she would ask me a question. Like I thought I was done and she was like, wait, what happened in college from this year to this year? And I was like, nothing. And she was like, "Are you sure? Because it seems like there's a big jump." And I was like, "Oh, we just lost the house." And she was like, "Oh, maybe that's something you should write about." So I found that there was places that I was naturally trying to avoid
Mhm.
the trauma because I have not been to therapy. I should. My older sister is in therapy and enjoys it, and it's very helpful. But so writing this book was very much like therapy for me. So the next step was like shifting through it, adding what was missing, making sure it was authentic to me. Um, and then what else? The cover choosing and all that exciting kind of stuff that's also frustrating at times when you're like, no, I don't want it to look like that. I don't want it to look like that. But we came to a good common ground. I love having my mother's handwriting in the back of my
Mm-hmm.
cover. That's really special.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like she's like
Mm-hmm.
blessing every book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if I have the best answer. But yeah, after was just trying to figure out like, is it really done?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, does it, one big question is like, is it honoring everyone's memories? Like, would Aunt Maddie approve of this? Would Aunt Vernell approve of this? Would my sister be happy? And sometimes you just have to write your own perspective and not worry about what
Mm-hmm.
other people think. This is your one time to say the truth of your own
Yeah.
experience. And that was the most
Right.
freeing part, to just
Mm-hmm.
tell the truth. It was scary, but I had to stop asking questions sometimes. Stop trying to get other people's approval and just write it.
Approve. Yeah. And that's when you're writing the nonfiction about your own life and your story,
Hmm.
right? Is, sometimes you can get caught up in what somebody else thinks about it, would they approve, would they give the stamp of love it, and probably not,
Right.
especially if some things in there about them, they're probably going to say,
Right.
no,
I
girl,
never
or
said
they
that.
may say it about your mother.
Hmm.
No, don't tell the world that.
Yep, that's
Um,
private. That's personal. But
right.
sometimes that the whole book is about letting people know like you're not alone,
Mhm.
especially with poverty and sickness.
Mhm.
We live in a society that you do not want people to know what you don't have or what you're suffering
Mhm.
from. And so I've loved being able to reach people who understand and to feel understood by other people, especially after a
Mhm.
long life of it feeling like a private burden.
Right, right. Well, that's what your mother wanted. She
Hmm.
didn't want everybody to know
Right.
what was
Conceal
going
what's real.
on in your
Yes.
household.
Yes, because again, they could take they could take the kids, or um God knows what else. She could end up back in jail, or So it is scary when you're trying to pretend
Mhm.
to be normal. But sometimes what's normal is that we're all struggling. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we need each other. Sometimes you need someone that to understand,
Correct.
but it's tough.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the, things if you ever get into therapy or talk to a psychologist is that they will tell you people want to be heard, they want their stories told, they want to be believed. And so they don't want to feel like they are the only ones going through that, especially when you're a child. You don't
Yes.
really, unless you're seeing that, hearing those things, you think that it's just your family that's getting evicted and
Yes.
moving from place to place and changing schools and all that. But once you become an adult, and I'm sure you probably already experienced this, there's so many people out there like you, Erika.
Yes. They're like, oh, we're on food stamps too. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now take me from when you finished the book, you got the book edited. Well, before then, how did you get a publisher?
Oh. Well, we shopped it around to a few places. Like which part of the process? How I got the agent. So I got an agent simply because it's you got to keep your friends close because Jeremy was like, "Give me that essay that you wrote in school. Let me show it." And I was like, "What do you mean show it?" And he showed it to some people. I got started getting phone calls and I made a choice.
Oh.
I went with Cindy at CAA, who she's a Gemini like my mother, so she was very vibrant and believed in me. And so we
Mhm.
started pitching the book around, and some people passed. One publisher told us like, just start writing, and if we like it, we'll offer you a deal. And I didn't
Wow.
like that. And then Scribner, which was where Heavy was published, they Cindy, not Cindy, Emily, my editor there, my current editor now, she really saw the vision and she was so stimulated by the idea. And when I spoke to her, she was offering ideas, which no other person at a publicist had done. They would just been like, "Oh, we really like your writing," but they hadn't offered anything more. So
Mhm.
she offered ideas, and one other place wanted it. And so I had a very light bidding war. And then I went with Scribner just because her ideas were so it felt like I was gonna have a really good working relationship, like someone who could match my energy and add something. And so
Yeah.
I feel good. I got a good deal for a first
Mhm.
book. I got
Yay.
70K, which is
Yay.
like, usually debut art authors get like 10, 15. So I'm really proud of that.
Mhm.
Um, it doesn't pay all out all at once is what you learn. It's like increments of four. But
Sure.
I'm really proud of that deal. And Scribner was like the best place for me to be. It feels like they really publish like literary memoirs. And I felt very comfortable there. Like I said, my editors are so
Mhm.
good. My publicist is so good. So I couldn't be happier. Um, so from there, I agreed to write for. I said I just needed 1 year, and I did end up extending because again, this economy is tough, and the first check goes quick, and I had to get a job at Sam's Club. So I was like, can I actually extend this contract for 6 months? I kind of have to go make money to pay the rent, which really is
Mhm.
messes with your mind. That feeling of
Mhm.
like, oh, I've made it, but then you still have to work. You still, it's like you're not suddenly a millionaire. You know what I mean?
Mhm. No.
Um,
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
sucked. But I got it done in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Um, I was lucky enough to do a writer's retreat in Italy for about
Yeah.
2 weeks, and that really helped me finish it off. Again, this was Jeremy's inaugural writer's retreat, so he got me in. You got to keep them friends close. You hear me? Because he always believes in me and makes sure I gets this stuff done. And so being in Italy was incredible. Especially, I'm from the South. I'm from North Carolina. I haven't been many places, so that was so eye-opening just to be
Mhm.
somewhere else. But it was a doozy. It was a doozy. And I remember the first moment that they tell you, like, um, you're done when we say you're done. Because, sometimes you can
Mm.
turn in that book. You're like, I'm finished with it. And they're like, You're not. You're not." So that was a lot. It took me about 7 drafts and then maybe two more touch-ups to finish. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Awesome. I mean, Erica, you have connected the dots.
Mm-hmm.
You met that person led you to that led you to the next
Yes.
one, and awesome. And
It
I've heard
literally is who
people
you
too
know and
talk
who you
about,
trust.
yeah, hmm talk about writing retreats, and I've been on my own personal writing retreat and plan to do another one in 2026, just to, butt to chair and do
Yes,
it.
literally. Yeah, they say you have to sit to do it.
To
And it
do it.
does,
That's
it's sometimes you have to be at rest to be able to create. You know what I mean? We do
sure.
so much in a day. It's so nice to be somewhere else and to be able to just
hmm
focus on something creative and not feel the pressures of your daily responsibilities. Like who cares about the
Right,
dishes for 2 seconds, you know?
right, right. Yeah, that's well, Sadiqa Johnson is the one. She's a historical fiction writer. She's the one. I have to
Mm-hmm.
give her credit for saying "butt to chair." Right, that's not. That's
It's
not. But
so good.
there was one retreat I was reading about. Basically, they put the food in front of your door. You get your meals,
Mm.
that's it, and you meet in the evenings. And it is some serious writing going on. Now, when you did the personal retreat, could you really focus on your writing? I mean, because nothing, you weren't really doing much of anything else, right?
Hmm. So at this one, like you said, that we would have breakfast together, so you could go and eat communally, and it wasn't required, but it would be nice because it's like this whole time we're gonna see everybody at the meals, and then you could write all afternoon, but then they would have days where like we could meet up and do like a pasta making class, or we went to like an
Okay.
art museum once, so we could get stimulated in some different way. And then there's
Mhm,
something about even like you say, you meet up for dinner, so we would have dinner
mhm,
together and the place we were staying, they would do like 3-course meals. So even eating was like
mhm,
art in itself, like having seeing different shapes and tasting different things that I've never tasted or wouldn't try. Because again, I'm kind of country. I have a simple palate. You know what I mean? I'm that chicken
yeah.
nugget eater. You know what I mean? So it was nice to like eat some different pastas and try, grilled octopus and different desserts with like air bubbles and stuff. And I'm like, it was so nice and stimulating, and we would talk about imposter syndrome and
Oh,
like even how we're talking now, like how was it when you got the deal, how much was it, just so you can hear real things and not be mystified by the
sure,
industry.
right.
But yeah, and then a lot of times I
Mhm.
would end up writing, like the inspiration hits you at like 2 a.m. and you like jump up and write
Ah,
something down, or you know what I
yeah.
mean, and that felt good to be in an environment where you don't have your boyfriend sleeping beside you or you don't have
Mhm,
kids around, where you could jump up and
mhm,
write in the middle of the night, or just like we each got like a free spa day, just one now they you know what I mean, but we would get like a day where you could go and float in the sauna and you could just
mhm.
literally, you would feel guilty to relax for a full day. But the next
Mm,
day, your brain would be so alive and stimulated. So sometimes,
yeah.
if you follow the nap ministry, how they talk about how important rest is, it's like you can't
Mhm,
fight the good fight or write something real if you're feeling tired. And this world works really hard to make us tired. So you got
mhm.
to apply to these writers retreats because it just feels so good to just be able to rest and relax for
Yeah,
24 hours
absolutely.
a week. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because sometimes, again, like we said, you wake up on day 6 and suddenly you can't stop writing. You're in 10 pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Your body and
yeah.
your brain will tell you when they're
Mhm.
ready.
That's an awesome, awesome feeling. It really is.
Hmm.
Well, your story gives us a lot of hope for, people. I mean, as I say, everyone has a story. It's just whether they have the courage, the time, the dedication, and the discipline to really put that story to paper, computer, and get it out to the world. So,
Hmm.
have you gotten any negative feedback about your book? This is pretty
Mm.
intense. Some of the things that you write about, and particularly about mental illness.
Hmm. Not too many negatives. I definitely think people say it's very intense emotionally, and that's a hard book to put down because again, it's second person, so it's like your mother is dying, your aunt called to say what your mother cannot, so you have to feel it with me, but there is reprieve.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I use television in the book, I use songs, there's so many different breaks that I give the reader emotionally.
Yeah.
um what was the original question? The
Any
negative
negative feedback.
feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people feel it the most who have lost someone, but it is for everyone. You know what I mean? I think when you've lost someone, people are like, thank you so much for the story. I think
Mhm.
people who have lived softer lives, they're like, it was fine, a little heavy. You know what I mean? So, but it's like they do need to step into this because everyone, if you're lucky, if you're lucky as a mother, everyone will experience losing their mother. You know what I mean?
Right.
If we
Yeah.
live right, you will experience losing your mother. And no matter
Mhm.
what age you are, it will hit. And this is also a book about realizing that your parents are just people. So a lot of
Sure.
times we're driven to blame our mother for everything bad that's ever happened to us. Like, you
Yeah.
did this to me. And I think it's important to realize that our parents are also children who are growing up and have a baby and they're living life for the first time too. So my
Mhm.
sister and I, when we talk about like negative responses, I'm always interested in characters that people get upset with. So sometimes people come to me and they're like, I was so mad at your mother. I was so mad at
Mm.
her. And then other
Mm.
people come up to me and they're like, I was so mad at your sister for not
Mm.
understanding your mother. So that's so
Mm.
interesting to me, like who
Mm.
people side with. Because like even
Yeah.
growing up, like so my sister looked at my mother's decisions and was like, she made bad decisions as a mother. I looked at my mother's decisions and I was like, oh, she was the baddest. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, she was doing good. She was trying to achieve her dreams and I respect it.
Yeah.
And I do live
Mhm.
life a lot like her, where I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do whatever it takes for the dream. And I cherish that she put that into me to keep going because I
Mhm.
wouldn't be where I am now if she hadn't told me to keep going. But my
Right.
sister is also not wrong. She has a stable
Mhm.
household and a husband.
Mhm.
My niece is
Mhm.
so taken care of. She's a stable
Mhm.
teacher. So yeah, that can be negative. Sometimes people just judge differently those
Sure.
decisions. But that's what the whole book is about. So I don't mind
Mhm.
that. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's different. You're two different people, so your upbringing is going to be viewed differently. I mean, my siblings and I all agree about that. And one thing I was going to tell you is that when my mother passed away in 2011, the way that I found out about it was the unit secretary called me and asked me if I wanted to come and see her. They took her to the. So that's how I found out
Oh,
that my mother passed away. I
so
didn't get
you
a phone.
absolutely understand not hearing how you think you would hear.
No, no,
Wow.
no. I knew my mother was passing. I live in Maryland. My mother was in Florida.
Mm,
I knew the day before that she was probably not going to make it too much longer, and I wouldn't be there with her when she did pass. But I was not expecting that kind of phone
the
call.
very next day.
Yeah.
Just
And
would you
so,
like to see the body, Lord?
yeah,
Mm,
that was a tough one, and it was tough all the way around, being so far. It
yes.
was not a great time in my life. A lot of crazy things were happening, and that was
Hmm.
one other, crazy thing that happened. So, but when you read other people's stories, you can get that sense that, things happen to them, things happen to you, and that you can make
Yes.
it. That's
Yes.
part of your story, Erika, is that no matter what happened in that household, is that you are still here. You
I'm
still
still
have
alive.
dreams,
Yes.
still have goals.
Yes.
And, the thing of it is, too, is that sometimes, as hard as it is to think about it, it is those kind of backgrounds that give you the fortitude for life, because life is life and you have to be tough really
Yes.
to live in this world. And sometimes you get that lesson started early in
Yes.
childhood, to get you to be the person that you are. And that's
Yes.
not saying good or bad or horrible or whatever. It just is.
It just is. I think, and I'm someone who likes to think that everything happens for a reason. Because if not, I would go crazy. And like sometimes even the delivering of information, maybe that's how we were supposed to receive it. So for me, my sister, my mother, we're all educators and readers and writers. So maybe it was better to for me to learn how I won't spoil the book, but maybe it was better for me to learn how my mother died, how I did, because that's something that I can handle. And we know we both were far away when our mothers passed. And so
Mhm.
I think about your story and the fact that you were like, I want to be there. And maybe it was for the best that instead of
Mhm.
having to carry that burden for like a week of how to get there, how to have the money, how to pause your life, they were just like, would you like to see her before it's, you know what I mean? And sometimes, as awful as that sounds, it's like at least it's over now. And
Mhm.
that choice was taken out of your hands. So you didn't have to suffer
Yeah.
that burden at least. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
It sounds so bad, but sometimes it's
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
maybe the universe, God, whatever you believe in, gives you just what you can handle, you
Right.
know? And at that time, maybe we couldn't have handled to go down there or
Mm-mm.
handled, like, as much as you're like, somebody need to call me. It's like I would
Mhm.
hate to be the one they call and be like, should we pull the plug or not? Like I like, dear God. You know what I mean? Like, do not put those decisions on me. Like you saw what happened to
Mhm.
younger me in my book when they started asking me,
Mhm.
would you like us to move her? Where does she, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's scary.
Mhm.
So
Right.
yeah, it is it's almost a comfort to hear that someone
Mhm.
else kind of had a
Mhm.
traumatic information gathering. Like you said, you're not alone. It happens to everyone. This is such a sensitive thing.
Yeah.
And the people that work at
Mhm.
these places, they're just going down a list. They're just
Mhm.
going down a list. If your number wasn't up there, they didn't call you. You know what I mean? Like we don't even
Yeah.
think about those kind of technicals when it comes to death.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
the information has to get passed. It's
Right.
so
It
spooky.
does. It does. It does. Well, the other thing I was going to tell you too is that I know people who want to write their stories, or they don't think that their story is worth hearing,
Hmm.
or they just don't
That's how
have
I
the
felt.
discipline to get that thing written. So that's why I said I applaud you for that. It's a tremendous feat, for I consider you still to be a young person because I'm old enough to be your mother. And
Hey, thank you. Because I'm starting to feel like, but no.
for you to have that and, for it to be a springboard for conversations, you know, that's your mother's business that she wanted to keep things private. She did not want people to think that she was crazy. She had her
Yes.
dreams and her goals and things going on, and that you can make it. I mean, I have some people in my family whose parents were, they were something. I don't know how they made
I
it.
know. So sometimes the generations above ours, like they holding secrets and stuff that we can't
Yeah,
even fathom. You know what I mean? But I would encourage
absolutely.
everyone to journal. I know some people get very sensitive, like I don't want it to be read but just do it for
Mm,
yourself. And if
sure.
you're not someone who writes, make a playlist. Like I made a playlist from my book. My editor encouraged me to. And I literally just put like my mother's favorite songs, my high school
Mm,
favorites. And sometimes even that can help tell your story. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Right.
And that feeling that no one cares, I definitely had that feeling. I used to say like, well, no one ever hit me and I was never sexually abused. So who cares? You know what I mean? Like those
Mm,
sensational things. But then sometimes that is why we need to say it because all of us are like, well, no one cares. Well, no one cares. But every story is so precious and so
yeah,
important.
so
Um,
important.
and if you can't share it, at least release it
Yeah.
for yourself so you're not carrying it. You know what I mean? That's why writing is so nice. My shoulders
Mhm,
feel so much lighter from releasing the
mhm,
story. Every time someone messages
mhm,
me and they're like, I was crying,
mhm,
or this reminded me of my mother, like I feel so much
mhm,
lighter,
mhm.
just connecting.
Did you feel like your personality came through the book? Because I don't know you. I mean, I know you now, but I didn't know you then, right? I
Hmm.
met you at the book fair here in Gaithersburg that was
Yes.
made this year, 2025. That's when I met you
Yeah,
and
that was so
experienced
fun.
your bubbling personality. So when I read the book, I was like, oh, that's coming through.
Yeah, that's like I wanted to make sure like I'm a goofy person. So I wanted to include those times where like literally my mother told me she was sick and I was like, "Oh, I got to get to Hollywood." You know what I mean? That's how I am. I'm so into television. Like literally I was a kid raised by television. I get messages from the shows. You know what I mean? I watch something and I'm like, I see what the universe is trying to tell me. So I wanted to get all of that in. I wanted to reference the X-Files and reference beyond belief factor fiction, even if I'm dating myself for the 90s, or you know what I mean? Like, so I think it is all in there. Literally, my book, when you read it, that's me.
That's it.
When
Okay.
you read it, that's me. Someone commented on one of my posts and was like, "Hey Jane," and they like called me like what my mother calls me, and it tickled me so much. Um, Scary, but it tickled me because it's just like I'm glad that y'all have seen the real me through the pages, because that's all I wanted. I didn't want to write something that someone else wrote because that book sold. Like, you got to write yourself. That's all people want, an authentic story, you know?
Right.
Do not write
Absolutely.
anything you've seen before.
Right,
Forget it.
right. Well, it is very unique. I would encourage anybody to get it and to read it. Hey, if you need a box of tissues, okay, box of tissues. But
Yes.
to see the way that you have written it, because it is very unique. Like I said, I've read a lot of memoirs and biographies, and I'm so impressed with that. So I definitely will not give it away. I'll let people, buy the book, read it, and see for themselves how unique it is. And I hope that, you keep getting to market it, get the word out there, so that people can read your story.
And I read the audiobook too. So if you don't like to read, I'm doing my own book. And I
Oh,
did go to theater school, so it is quite animated. It's a whole different experience to listen to it.
well, maybe I will do that again. I love to listen to the author read their books.
Yes.
Those are the
I
best.
felt
So
like
I might
Beyonce in
just
the
do it.
studio.
Well, thank you, Erika, for coming on. Thank you for giving us for your precious time. And I
Thank you, Jenna Lee.
certainly wish you and pray you the best as you continue to let this story get out there and market it and get it sold and add some more monies to
Yes.
it, because hey, we're going for 1 million copies.
Okay, we're going for 1 million copies. We're going for a movie. Okay. Like, let's get the book out there. Tell all your friends. Thank you so much for having me. I love to talk to everybody, and you're such a kind spirit. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss This Is Your Mother by Erika J. Simpson. Be sure and subscribe to this channel for more author interviews, and look in the comments for links to her book. Until next time, we'll see you. Happy reading. Bye bye.